Welcome back to the refuge of unfiltered reality, the one place where we dare to look at the rotting remains of narcissistic illusion with ruthless clarity. You are here because you survived a war that left no visible scars, yet almost burned your spirit to dust. You watched someone you loved walk away wearing a cold, smug smile, convinced they had won while you stood in the wreckage of your loyalty. But today we pull back the heavy curtain on the last act of their downfall. We answer the question that stalks your sleepless nights. How does it end for the predator who thinks they escaped? There is a precise, fatal step, a psychological line they cross from which there is no return. Once they do, their slide into isolation and collapse becomes guaranteed. Imagine a movie scene where shadows stretch long and the air shakes with the promise of a storm. You stand on a bridge set on fire by the very person who once swore to protect you. They are laughing on the far side as the flames rise. Sure, they traded your light for a cheap neon fantasy. This is the moment of the final discard. What they don't notice is that the ground beneath them is already cracking. They believe they are entering paradise, but they have walked into a maze of mirrors where only their own emptiness stares back. We are exposing the hidden truth of why their apparent victory is actually a death blow to their ego. The real question isn't whether they miss you. It's why they are biologically and psychologically wired to fall apart the moment they erase you. You are not just a partner. You were the load-bearing pillar of their inner world. When they choose to erase you, to act as if you never existed, to swap your depth for a shallow copy, they are pulling the plug on their own life support. They think they're moving higher. In reality, a parasite that abandons its strongest host is signing its own starvation order. You are about to see the mechanics of a slow-burn psychological self-destruction they cannot undo. Stay with me, because this is not just about their collapse. It is about your release. For too long, you have been stuck in the question of why they were so cruel, wondering if you were truly as disposable as they made you feel. Hear this clearly. Your high-value empathy was the only barrier keeping their darkness in check. The instant they commit total erasure, they lose the one mirror that reflected a version of themselves they could stand. Without your gaze to humanize them, they fall back into a raw, predatory state that eventually drives everyone away. They are not escaping you. They are running into a void that will consume them. Picture this as a documentary of a psychological shipwreck. The narcissist is the captain who threw the lighthouse keeper overboard because the beam was too bright and showed every crack in the hull. Now they sail blindly into night, convinced they are free, unaware the rocks sit just beneath the surface. The act named in our title, the one that seals their fate, is the moment they believe their own lies so completely that they discard the only person who actually saw them and loved them anyway. Once that bridge is burned to ash, they are trapped on an island of their own making, and the tide is racing in. They see polished photos with a new supply, glowing smiles, and feel a sharp sense of unfairness. But understand this, what you see is propaganda carefully arranged to hide a terrifying inner breakdown. The narcissist is a dopamine addict who just burned down the pharmacy. The new person isn't a soulmate. They are a temporary bandage on a rotten wound. The moment the narcissist trades long-term devotion for a short-term ego rush, they enter a cycle of shrinking returns that always ends in emotional bankruptcy. This is both a psychological crash and a cinematic reveal. We will pull apart their ego's extinction burst and show you why their new life is just a frantic sprint away from the shame of what they did to you. Right now, they are drunk on duper's delight, but the high is already wearing off. The tragedy of the narcissist is that they keep searching for a home they can never live in because they burn every shelter they enter. By the end of this script, you will no longer feel like the discarded one. You will understand that you were the prize the thief was too damaged to keep. Notice how they get colder and more vicious at the end. It's because they are trying to kill the part of themselves that still needs you. Leaving you isn't a real choice. It's a desperate survival reflex. of the false self. They strip you of your humanity and recast you as the villain. Because if you are evil, their betrayal feels justified. But the mind does not forget. The deeper mind knows they destroyed a diamond for gravel, and that buried truth eats away at them from within, showing up as paranoia, bitterness, and a hunger that never stops. Now we step into the gravity well of their psychology. A narcissist exists only through the reflection of others. When they erase a high-quality source like you, they perform an ego amputation. They think they dropped a burden, but they've cut away their anchor. What comes next is a slow slide into obscurity. They drift from one shallow bond to the next, each shorter and emptier than the one before. The ending is not explosive. It is a long, lonely fading in a room full of people who don't know who they truly are. So prepare for Chapter 2, where we reveal the hidden motives behind their final betrayal through vivid imagery. We will show the chaos that takes over their inner world once your empathy is gone. If you are ready to stop staring at the burning bridge and start turning toward the horizon, you are ready for the truth. The narcissists didn't leave to find something better. They left because they were terrified of being truly seen by you. And that terror is exactly what will push them toward their inevitable end. The exposure starts now. To understand why the narcissist is headed for a tragic finish, you must grasp the parasite-host dynamic. A narcissist has no internal source of self-worth. They are a psychological moon that can only reflect someone else's light. You are that sun. You provided warmth, steadiness, and moral direction they did not have. When they discard the host in search of a new sun, they don't realize they've stepped into a frozen vacuum. They assume anyone can give the same energy. Eventually, they discover most people are just other moons, cold, hollow, reflecting nothing but their own darkness. Their real reason for leaving is annihilation anxiety. As closeness grew, you became dangerous. You began to see the child behind the grandiose mask, the cracks in their stories, the fear in their eyes, the shame in their quiet moments. For a narcissist, being known feels like death. They leave not because you failed them, but because you succeeded in seeing too much. They run to protect the false self from the unbearable light of your awareness. Like a vampire burning the house down because the windows were cleaned and sunlight started to creep in, inside their mind stands a collapsing cathedral. Their ego is an ornate monument built on borrowed strength. You are the foundation. When they erase you, they pull out the supports holding their reality together. They believe they can rebuild with someone new, but they are building on sand without your shared history, your loyalty, and your deep understanding. The new structure is flimsy and fake, a cardboard life waiting for the first real storm to blow it apart. The narcissist is a wanderer stuck in the eternal present. They lack object constancy, meaning once you are out of sight, you no longer exist as a full, complex human being to them. They move on quickly, not because they are strong, but because their emotional depth is shallow and brief. But this lack of depth becomes their sentence. Because they cannot form lasting bonds, they can never build a home or leave a real legacy. They are doomed to a life of emotional transit, forever pacing the departure gate of human connection, waiting for a flight to a place that never existed. Inside them, chaos hums like a television stuck on static. There is no steady story, only harsh, broken flashes of craving and entitlement. When they walk away from you, they think they are changing channels to escape the noise of their own guilt. But the static travels with them. The new person is only a different backdrop for the same distortion. When the novelty fades, and it always does, the narcissist is left with the same screaming emptiness they tried to outrun. They leave chasing peace, but they are the source of their own war, and no one can escape their own mind. Let's unpack the narcissist's supply chain. They see people as fuel tanks. You are a high-octane source that kept them going for years. When they swap you for something shallow and low grade, they wreck their own engine. They convince themselves they are choosing easy over effort. But what they are really doing is downgrading their entire existence. They sink into a world of cheap supply. People who barely know them, don't truly care, and will drop them the moment the thrill dries up. It's trading a mansion for a strip of filthy motels. They're deep. Safe fear is the honest mirror. You were the only one who reflected both their hidden potential and their very real flaws. They hated you for the flaws, yet needed you for the vision of who they might become. When they walk away, they start hunting for warped mirrors, people who only adore the mask. But a mask cannot be love, and it cannot give love back. The narcissist sinks into an intense loneliness disguised as frantic social movement. Surrounded by faces, they are more alone than ever because no one in their new circle actually knows them. The real shift happens when they realize the new supply is just another mirror they will eventually smash. The narcissist is a compulsive destroyer, driven by a hidden urge to ruin what is good because goodness reminds them of what they lost inside themselves. They abandon the best thing they ever had to prove they need no one. But that independence is a lie. It is total dependence on an endless rotation of strangers. They are like a shark that keeps biting long after it's full just to prove its teeth still work. Their inner world becomes a graveyard of abandoned identities. Each partner they leave behind takes a piece of their story with them. By middle age or later, there is no clear narrative left. They are a patchwork of borrowed traits, a stitched-together creature made from the interests, habits, and phrases of past lovers. They believe this constant reinvention is growth, but it only breaks them further. Eventually, they forget who they were ever meant to be. They move through time as an empty shell, scattering destruction behind them, blind to the fact that they are the main casualty of their own erasure. As we enter Chapter 3, the balance of power shifts. We begin to see what happens when their final betrayal fails to give them the victory they expected. We will nail down the exact second they realize they made an error, a reversible mistake, and how they fall apart when they lose control of the story. Here comes the twist. They didn't just leave you. They exiled themselves from the only real connection they ever had. The turning point starts now, and it will be a brutal awakening for the predator who thought you were finished. The shift comes when the dopamine fog of the new discard starts to clear. For a short while, the narcissist felt untouchable. They felt superior because they broke you and walked away without a scratch. They felt free because the new supply is still worshiping the mask. Then the first glitch appears. The new person acts like a human being. They have a bad day, ask for something, or fail to reflect perfection. In that moment, the narcissist's mind snaps back to you. They remember the safety of your empathy, and the first seed of infected regret sinks into the soil of their ego. This is the hidden moment when power changes hands. The narcissist becomes haunted by the one they tried to erase. They check your life, scroll your social media, question mutual contacts about you, searching wildly for proof that you are in pain. Why? Because if you are thriving, it means you are never dependent on them. It proves their exit did not destroy you. That truth creates a narcissistic wound that feels physical. They left to prove dominance, but your indifference is the one force that can actually shatter them. When control slips, their answer is manic triangulation. Realizing you are not begging, they turn up the show. More pictures, more trips, louder happiness. It's a staged play aimed at one person, you. They are shouting into a void, desperate for any reaction, trying to drag you back for one last round. If you stay silent, if you stay unseen, the narcissist begins to crack. They are losing the long game, and panic seeps through the breaks in the mask. Then comes the fin. I'll twist. The narcissist sees that the new supply is a downgrade, maybe shinier on the surface, but missing the depth you gave Boredom takes over. The thrill is gone. In its place stands someone who doesn't know their history, doesn't speak their inner language, doesn't know how to feed them at the core. They abandon gold for glitter. And glitter doesn't keep you warm in the dark. They are starving at a banquet of emptiness. The power shift becomes complete when the survivor reaches real indifference. When you stop caring, stop looking for validation, stop watching their life, you cut them out of your reality. To a narcissist, being ignored equals annihilation. Hatred still gives them energy. Indifference wipes them out. Your silence becomes a vacuum that crushes their grandiosity. They start to feel invisible. And for a person who lives only on attention, invisibility is the first stage of extinction. Watch closely when the Hoover fails. They send a random text, a memory, a fake apology. If you don't respond, rage explodes. They feel rejected, even though they were the one who left. Their inner talk spins into entitlement and fury. They are no longer directing the scene. They are a child screaming over a toy they can't get back. They do this. They walk away, assuming you are a shelf they can return to whenever they want. Finding out that the shelf no longer exists is a shock they cannot process. The narcissist's social power starts to rot because the loss of your supply leaves them frantic and unstable. Cracks appear in their public image. They become overly aggressive, absurdly inflated, or pathetically needy in ways that push even their flying monkeys away. Slowly, people start to see the shadow they worked so hard to hide. The new supply is devalued far faster than usual because the narcissist is desperately chasing the intensity they once had with you. The empire of lies begins to shake, and they are the one who knocked out the first stone. This is the psychological twist that changes everything. The narcissist starts to fear you. They fear your silence because it locks them out of your thoughts. They fear your strength because it proves they were the weight that kept you small. They do this. They discard you to prove they are the prize, only to realize you were the core energy that made them feel victorious at all. Without you, they are losing in every area of their life, and they do not have the inner tools to repair it. They are falling apart in full view. Their regret is not emotional. It is practical. They don't miss you as a person. They miss what you did for them. They miss the stability you created. They miss the status you reflected back. Now they are transactional beggars, trying to buy with charm what they once received from you through love, but the charm is thinning and the market value of their lies is crashing. They slip into chronic staring at the burning bridge, realizing they are stuck on the wrong side of the flames. They are trapped by their own exit plan. As we move into chapter 4, the collapse speeds up. We face the harsh outcome that follows total erasure. We confront the isolation, the inner terror, and the final breakdown of the narcissistic ego. The act named in our title is the fatal choice that seals their annihilation. They do this, they trade reality for illusion. And now the illusion is breaking into countless shards of unforgiving truth. The tragedy is racing toward its peak, and the ending is far harsher than they ever imagined. The collapse starts with narcissistic anhedonia, the total inability to feel joy. Their dopamine system is burned out from chasing the rush of the new discard. The new supply is flat. The new life feels dull and copy-pasted, and the emptiness has grown big. Than before. They do this. They chase freedom through betrayal, only to learn that their freedom is actually total isolation. They sit in the middle of crowds yet feel internally homeless. It's a cold, conscious hunger that no amount of attention can fill. This marks the start of inner decay. Then comes social breakdown. Their smear campaign backfires because they left with such cruelty and madness they exposed themselves to the very people they wanted to trick. Flying monkeys drift away. Coworkers and partners notice the instability. The polished mask melts, revealing a small, bitter predator underneath. They do this. They burn every bridge. And now they find themselves alone on an island of shame. No allies left. Only witnesses. to their fall. Internal panic mutates into paranoia. They become sure everyone is talking about them, that you are plotting their ruin, that unseen enemies are wrecking their new life. This is pure projection. They throw their own malice outward. They pull back or become hyper-defensive, snapping at anyone who questions their shaky sense of control. They choke inside a mental prison built from their own lies. They went after power and ended up fully exposed. Their body starts to mirror the road inside. Many go through psychosomatic breakdowns, mysterious pains, constant fatigue, rapid aging. The strain of keeping the illusion going eats them alive physically. They look into the mirror and don't recognize the hollow figure staring back. This often happens within weeks or months of leaving you, the cost of betrayal written plainly on their face. They fall apart as you rise. The contrast crushes their ego. The new supply becomes the next casualty, another sign of failure. If the new person is narcissistic too, warfare explodes quickly. If they are weak, they are despised. If they are strong, they are discarded. The narcissist is stuck on a spinning wheel of replacements, none offering the depth you once gave. They starve in a feast of shit. They chased paradise and built a private hell where every fresh start is just the beginning of another collapse. The final tragedy is the erosion of identity. After telling so many lies to so many people, they forget who they were supposed to be. They become a mosaic of stolen traits, a ghost wearing borrowed skin. When they erase their history with you, they cut off their own context. They wander as a person without a country through a social wasteland, searching for a reflection that isn't distorted. They are psychologically dead long before their body stops. This is the ultimate cost of total erasure. Watch the narcissistic mortification when they see your success. Hearing about your promotion, your home, or your healthy relationship triggers a brutal ego collapse. They feel as though you took what belonged to them, even though they were the one who walked away. Your happiness obsesses them like poison. They left to win. Realizing you won by losing them is a humiliation they cannot spin. Your peace destroys them. Social isolation delivers the final hit. Narcissists are social parasites who need an audience to feel real. As time passes and charm rots into something creepy, the crowd grows bored and leaves. They are left as the bitter figure in the corner, talking about old glory. No intimacy, no loyalty, no real love. Sex without connection, followers without friendship. They chased freedom and ended up in solitary confinement. The deepest irony is that they are aware of their own fading importance. They watch the world go on without them. They see you growing in the light while they wither in the shadows. That is universal justice. The one who tried to be the center of the universe is reduced to a grain of dust on the edge. They do this, they trade reality for ego, and now the bill has come due. The collapse is complete, and there is no new supply on Earth. Acts that can buy them another beginning. As we step into Chapter 5, we deliver the final closing strike of truth. The moment of emotional release and strength that lets you walk away for good. You will see that the narcissist's tragic ending was sealed the second they made that choice. You are the survivor who walked out of the horror film alive, while the monster is dissolving in the acid of its own corruption. The final truth is about to unlock your freedom, a cinematic ending that changes your life. The hidden knowledge that rebuilds the structure of your pain. The narcissist's downfall is not just loneliness. It is total spiritual bankruptcy. When they erased you to win, they basically short-sold their own future. They traded a lifetime of integrity for a brief spike of grandiosity. Now the market has corrected, and they are emotionally broke. You were never the loser in this war. You were the one who got out before the crash. You held the one form of wealth they will never have. Their leaving was your exorcism. For years, you acted as life support for something parasitic. You powered a void. When they left, They weren't rejecting you. They were being thrown out of your garden. What felt like rejection was actually rescue. The narcissists removed themselves and took their darkness with them, leaving you in the light, finally able to breathe. Your healing is their final defeat. Real empowerment starts with accepting their emptiness. You were trying to love a simulation, trying to build a home with a hologram. When they moved on so easily, it was because there was nothing to move, no soul to attach, no heart to truly break, no deep memory to honor. This is the hard truth that frees you. You didn't lose a partner. You escaped an illusion. You are real. They are constructed, and reality always outlives deception. The narcissist's true ending is stagnation. While you expand, grow, and deepen, they are stuck in an endless loop of first impressions. They repeat the same charm, reuse the same lies, and discard the same kinds of victims until the day they die. They are locked in a museum of failure. Your success is the final proof of their smallness. Every honest smile you share, every moment of calm in your rebuilt life punctures their grandiosity. Why do they end this way? Because they have no inner compass. They sail with no direction, and the wind of novelty has died. They drift into irrelevance. As time passes and their charm sours into something disturbing, they realize they have nothing real to offer. Only shadows. They crave the light they once stole from you, but it's gone. Your garden is closed. They scream into emptiness, and the silence delivers the judgment. This is the closing scene of your trauma. You stand at the edge of the forest and feel no wolf behind you. You finally see that the wolf was a coward, hunting only because you once bowed your head. You have taken your power back. You have integrated your shadow. You are armed with truth. The narcissist is now a ghost, wandering a house you no longer live in. You are whole. You are free. You are the designer of your own joy. Closure is choosing their irrelevance. You do not need an apology from a machine or remorse from a parasite. Their fate is the justice. Being trapped as themselves forever is the harshest punishment possible. Imagine endless confinement inside a narcissistic mind. No love, no peace, no truth. That is punishment beyond any law. You have been let out of that cell. Walk forward without turning around. You win because you can still feel. They tried to win by leaving, but in doing so, they gave up the one thing that makes life matter: authenticity. They are hollow figures whispering into the wind. You are solid, grounded, alive. Your vulnerability is power. Your empathy is strength. You have stepped off the battlefield while they stay trapped in the arena, fighting ghosts. The war is over. The light has returned. To every survivor hearing this, empowerment is not revenge, it is rebirth. It is taking back the self they tried to erase. They meant to destroy you, but they forged something unbreakable. You see clearly now. The red flags are visible from miles away. You protect your own garden. The narcissist fades into the background noise of your past while you stand as the author of an endless future. The tragedy is theirs. The victory is yours. Remember this final truth. A narcissist doesn't leave to find something better. They leave because they cannot stand the honest reflection you offered. They fall because a life built on erasure cannot hold the weight of truth. You are that truth. You are the light, and you are finally home within yourself. Go live the life they tried to steal. You paid for it in pain, but you will keep it through wisdom. Their silence is the anthem of your freedom.